Hit the field, we don't bluff. Touchdown dances, feel the love. Jordan's got that MVP stuff. It's time for let's go. Packers bringing that show.
Hello, and welcome to this first post-game Open Cheeze, still working on names, broadcast of our post-game show. I am Iowa Joe. That's Cheese Talk, Brian Rago. Brian, week one's here. Meaningful football's been played. Packers secure the victory. What are your thoughts?
Wow.
Wow.
What a game. I mean, we talked all off season what the Packers need to improve on, and as far as like on defense, and and with the addition of Micah Parsons and losing Kenny Clark, the rotation on the defensive front, I mean, they came out with their heads on fire. That first drive, that first defensive stand was just incredible, and just to see the impact that Micah Parsons made, getting double teamed, getting held, getting chasing down Goff from behind, even when the game was almost already over, he's still out there giving 100%. Chase him down for his first sack as a Packer. Huge. I mean,
and I think a lot of people have to realize what's going on with Micah. It's kind of the same way as Malik Willis last year. They've only been in the system for like a week. He hasn't played meaningful football in 6 months. He's going to have to get back into game shape per se. I mean, he's in amazing shape, but he's got to get, back into things. But what we saw from him today shows that they made the right move and went and got that playmaker. But yeah, overall, I think the whole team, outside of a few like hiccups here or there, really showed what they can do.
Yeah, that front seven, I think at any time they could be dubbed the organized chaos, because they're just everywhere. They're flying around the ball. They're trying to punch that ball out regardless. I mean, only thing that I saw that was kind of concerning was Laporta being wide open a few times and some blown coverage at corner. But other than that, they played a really good game.
Well, and that's what I'm talking about. There were some hiccups. There were some wide open guys. Jamison Williams ended up wide open a few times. Amon-Ra St. Brown ended up open a few times, which, I mean, it's going to happen because this is the NFL. Things happen, but it doesn't help that your big free agent acquisition this offseason, Nate Hobbs, missed the first game. So hopefully that was just a decision that, being that it's a short week and they have to turn around and play again Thursday, that they held him out just for that so he can be ready for Thursday. But like I said, there's some things that they're going to have to clean up. It's week one. Some of these guys haven't played meaningful football since the last season. They didn't play during the preseason, stuff like that. But what, other than the Micah Parsons experiment, what really stuck out to you?
Just the play calling. I've been saying off season on my podcast and even possibly to you. I mean, how much did Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn make Dan Campbell look good? Is this proof? I don't know. It's week one, but these guys coming off their year last year and how it ended for the Lions. I mean, from all we knew, if we were blind, we would have thought the Lions are going to win the Super Bowl last year, the way people are talking about them. And they lose two coordinators. Granted, they lost three of their offensive linemen, but still, I mean, just the weapons they have. And I mean, towards the end, when the game was almost already over, the newly extended Jamison Williams had 3 catches for 18 yards. Wow, cool. That's just, I mean, they got to figure something out there. And I said, too, you get that defensive line, you get to that quarterback within that 4-second window, and he's going to make mistakes. And absolutely he did. And by getting Micah Parsons there, it freed up Van Ness, it freed up Rashawn Gary. Quay Walker was effective, except for a couple of coverage plays, but they can fix that. I just think they're just going to build off this game and be successful. Hopefully, on defense the rest of the year, making big plays.
And I had some of those same thoughts. The Lions offense really didn't look great, cohesive outside of a few things. Shout out to True North here, uh, always joining us. But yes, it was a solid win. Um, but yeah, they didn't look cohesive on their offensive side. Now, how much of that was because of what Halfley drew up and the playmakers on the Packers side caused it, or play calling or whatever? Uh, so that that was obvious there. The defense, I think Mike and I talked about it on our preview we that the corners didn't match up to what the Packers could do with their receivers. Outside of that, their safeties and their line was going to be hard to hard to beat on things, but outside of the run game early on, they really dominated both sides of the ball. So uh, it it was great for a week one. There's Kawano-san. What a great professional weekend of football. Yeah, I didn't watch too many of the early games. I did watch a little bit of the Jets Steelers game because that was obviously the game that was before the Packer game. But outside of that, I didn't really pay attention to anything. But I did, go through and just look at the scoreboards, and yeah, there were some games that just were really weird. But we're here talking about Packers football, Kawano. So shut up.
Another thing too that kind of I didn't get was, what do the NFL officiating? What do they consider taunting? Because McKinney had that hit and he got in the guy's face. Okay, taunting. But then Jameson Williams had that catch, and he was like went out of his way to go out and taunt and talk smack to, I forgot who the corner was, but it's like there's no flag. I mean it's.
I don't think they even know what the rules are. I mean, that just goes back to what's a catch, and
Well, Dez did drop it.
Right. And but we even had that moment in the garbage time with Tesla with that catch that he made. Is that a catch? Is that not a catch? In real time, no, that's definitely not a catch. But when you go back and look through all the replays and all that stuff, yeah, he probably got in it and whatever. But I don't know. It was really weird. We knew it was going to be a chippy game, but this whole emphasis, when they say, when they use the words, we're going to put an emphasis on this rule, it's going to be overcalled. Look back at the years with Clay Matthews when they were going to work on the whole roughing the passer, and it seemed like every week Clay was getting controversial roughing the passer calls. It always seems like that they overdo things, and I get it. You don't want your guy standing over and one guy standing over the other, flexing whatever. Stupid. But like you said, there were a couple of times some of those guys were like headbutting Packer players and, getting up in their face. Well, wouldn't that, if you called it for McKinney, wouldn't that also be, taunting?
Today or yesterday, my sixth grader had his first youth tackle football game of the year, and there's a kid that they're playing against, running back, had like a breakaway run for a touchdown. 15 yards from the end zone, the kid turns around and starts talking smack. And refs flag.
Yeah.
Taunt. It's like, come on, dude. You're in
now. I know college ball, and Quano might be able to talk about this a little bit more because Quano knows a little bit about more college than I do, but that's a big emphasis with college is there's no celebration. There's not supposed to be celebrations like that. So you get flagged if you high step it into the end zone. You get flagged if you do all that stuff. But I called it. I said it. The no fun league. They just keep putting more and more of these rules out there that I don't know what it's meant for. I understand player safety, and I understand you don't want certain things out there, but taunting. I mean, as long as he's not like Sue stomping on some guy's calf, or he's not riding him like a friggin' bull. I don't see some of the taunting stuff there. What's my co-host saying over here? DeMarcus Covington, associate head coach. He can take Bisaccia's spot, even though special teams looked decent today. And then the McKinney call was total BS, unless the ref can state undeniably that what X said.
That Nick Neiman, they got that linebacker,
Hawkeye alum Nick Neiman.
He is a freaking special teams warrior.
He is.
He's awesome. What a smart move.
He's a very athletic linebacker. He's a little bit undersized, but he's got all the athletic traits, and I think that's why he's been more regulated as a special teamer than an actual player, like a starter or anything like that. But yeah, that's going to be that's been his bones in the NFL. But yeah, like I said, special teams looked really good. They were covering. Of course, you got the Celtic Cannon out there booming kicks. I am going to try getting that started no matter what people say until he's either no longer on the team or, somebody comes up with a better nickname for him. And you got McManus. That last kick, though, looked like it was going to go a little bit wonky, but it kind of straightened out for enough. But special teams overall, let's stick with the offensive side. What kind of really popped for you on the offensive side of the ball?
My podcast leading up to week one, people. I just said, we got to keep Jordan Wright upright. You got to keep him up. You got to keep him up. Getting Aaron Banks. I think
shut up, True North.
Moving Jenkins to center, and I just think their offensive line. It allowed Jordan to make the right read and long enough to make the right read and get the ball, to the open receiver. Josh Jacobs kept on chipping away and finally broke free for a touchdown end of the game. But, he had some pretty big carries, pretty good blocks, picking up the blitz up the middle. Everything except for the few drop passes. So one point,
and there really wasn't many of those either.
One series went like 3 straight runs. It was like a third and manageable, and they go for something that resulted in a 4th down. It's just, and there wasn't really any penalties, I guess, that stick out besides like Quano said, the BS pass or the taunting on McKinney. But Detroit, at number 23, he had that Brian Branch pick 6, turned around, and then even Hutchinson hitting Jordan Love. Another thing that stuck out was Zach Tom holding up against Hutch.
Yeah,
that was huge.
For sure. I mean, and the thing about Hutch is he's coming off injury, so is he full 100%? But who cares? They were able to handle him.
He played the game. Who cares if he's like look at Jordan. Look at Jordan Reed. His foot was garbage. The Jones fracture. He had a touchdown. I mean,
Well, like Quano and I were kind of talking on our preview. I don't know how much you can say that he's got I don't know. It's got to be like a minor Jones fracture, if it's a Jones fracture at all, because I don't see how he could be playing if it's as bad as they say it is, because when we were reading the stuff for the Jones fracture, it's like it hurts if you put pressure on it. You can't you're not gonna heal from it unless you're in a cast for up to 6 weeks or surgery. And it didn't make any sense that they called it what they called it, but I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor by any means, but yeah, like Kawano points out here, it was really just the one drop by Reed and then the one from Jacobs. But
that corner pass to Romeo Dobbs, I think he jumped too early. That fade to the corner of the front corner of the end zone, he jumped too early, or else he would have had that time perfectly. But I mean, that's not bad for for having your starters together for the first time. They played, I thought, pretty much perfect ball. I mean, it came out with a victory.
For sure.
You know,
and then like you said, and I called this out on Twitter that the play calling just coming out of the half, you run it 3 straight times, you really slow down momentum on that. I do wish that they would have got a little bit more aggressive when in the second half, just because. What was it here? Did they score a touchdown in the second half?
Yeah, the Packers.
Yeah,
Jacobs,
that's right. So they did have the one touchdown, but they didn't score anything in the third quarter. They scored 10 in the fourth. I think.
I mean, they already had the game in their eyes. Maybe they already won and just doing enough. I don't know. I have no idea. But I mean,
but that goes against what we've always heard from LaFleur, though. No, all fucking gas, no brake. That. So why slow it down? And you also got to be kind of balanced because you don't want your defense to get too gassed out. So yeah, I don't know. That was really weird. But then they started picking up a little bit more. They started gashing the defense a little bit more with Jacobs. I'm kind of surprised they really didn't have. I mean, they had Brooks out there for a couple plays, but they really didn't have Wilson out there until the final drive or so. So I'm really surprised that they didn't try to mix things up with him a little bit more. Love was interesting. In the past, you would think Love would have took off running a little bit more on things, but he stayed in the pocket. His throws were good. This is something Kawano's probably going to be happy about. His deep passes looked pretty good. He looked a little bit more accurate with the deep passes. I laughed because that touchdown pass to Reed reminded me of the Little Giant scene where it stuck into the kid's face mask, because it was Jordan thought, you're going to catch this whether I have to stick it in your face mask or not, and he put it right there and hit him right, and that was a great catch. What's Quano saying over here? After Tom and Banks' injuries, I get it, but prior to that, it was a little slow and mundane on offense in quarter 3 for my liking. And that's what I mean. They came out of the, they got the stop against, held them to 3 points, and then they just came out and went flat. So
another good thing that stuck out was they're marching down the field, Detroit on offense, and right before halftime, Evan Williams got that pick.
Yeah.
He jumped a route for Amon St. Brown and got, huge,
And that'll be something guys like Dusty Evely and the guys that do the breakdown, shout out Dusty, my dude. He's going to take a look at it, because you could see it in real time. A lot of that pick was due to Parsons' presence on the pressure. Goff knew he was coming off hot, so he had to get rid of the ball and threw it right, and Evan Williams made the perfect play on it. So,
yep.
But another thing that I want to talk about that I thought was a little bit interesting was the rotation that they did on punt returns. First, they had Matthew Golden out there. Then they threw Jaden Reed out there. I wonder if that's something they're considering throughout the season.
They had Savion Williams back there, too.
Was he on punt return? I know they had him on kick return.
Maybe it was kick return, but he looked good returning the ball, regardless.
And honestly, that's what I thought he was going to be that's why the whole McCole Hardman signing was a little weird after they had drafted Savion because, like, well, now you don't need McCole because Savion's going to be doing your returning. But just I wonder if they're going to continue a rotation or if they're going to just work on that a little bit more and see who they thought was more comfortable. They were waiting for Reed's shot to fully kick in. Yeah, that could be too, but I don't know. I mean, Golden looked good on his lone return. I don't know if I want to keep him back there, being that, quote unquote, on the depth chart, he is listed as the number one receiver. But what do you think? Do they keep a rotation or do they?
Why not? Give teams different looks, different speeds, different techniques, different. I think rotation in every spot, if you have dogs back there, isn't going to hurt. Keep doing it until it doesn't do you any good.
That's fair. I mean, the only thing that I have against it is, maybe players not being comfortable. Okay, 1 minute I'm doing it, 1 minute I'm not doing it. It could finally get into their head like, well, if I mess this up, then I'm off of it.
Well, I think for Savion's piece, I think, he probably sees where he's at in the depth chart. He wants to make an impact, and this could be where he makes his impact. Maybe it might make him comfortable, might give him the confidence to be successful there,
But the thing is, with the NFL, they don't get a choice on what they're going to do. They're going to do what the coaches tell them to do, especially seeing that he's a rookie. But, I mean, there's capable guys out there. There is McCole on the practice squad. There is Izzy Abikonda on the practice squad that they could use for it. But, I have nothing against it. I wonder if that's something they're going to stick with throughout the season or if they'll finally settle on somebody to be the full-time returner.
You think about it too. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. And the penalty, the Branch and Kraft. Branch tossing his helmet. I mean, that guy's like a head hunting merchant. It's like
that was one thing that I said during OPE's preview show, that it would be amazing to have Jacobs rushing and just plant Branch with a soul-stealing stiff arm. Quano, you're going to have to check that because I think there was a possibility that early on in the first quarter that Josh Jacobs did steal somebody's soul on a block. So I may not have got the stiff arm, but I think he did steal a soul on that. So check that for me.
Like pass blocking?
Yeah.
There was one where he
planted a guy.
Was it on that throw to was it a 50-yard throw to the Dubs maybe that he picked up that blitzing linebacker, I think?
It might have been. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I just remember seeing Jacobs in pro, and he just hits the guy and drives him to the ground. So right. I don't know if it was on that pass per se, but True North saying no, he doesn't want Golden on returns. And I'm kind of either or because Golden has a couple of or Golden has athletic traits that you can't not put on the field. So if he can be used in different ways, because he's got 4.29 speed, you can't not have him on the field.
And you have him on the field, and he's a legit threat to burn over the top of your defense. You are not going to cover him and maybe even double team him, and then you take away, the double teams on other receivers that, he not necessarily like a decoy, but a decoy. I mean, he's a rookie, but he has that speed to where if you just kind of ignore him, he's going to make a big play. So you have to keep on him to make sure he doesn't get that big play,
Okay, so I'm going to answer this from True North, and I'm thinking you're meaning Carrington Valentine, not Ballantyne. But that's because Carrington runs his mouth constantly. And I'm sure that there is no doubt in my mind he's talking trash out there constantly. And he's just... I could see him really digging deep into things. If you've never seen videos of him or watched him at like training camp practice or something, he's always running his mouth no matter what. So I could see them wanting that. I got to show this one because somebody agrees. Quano agrees with me finally for something. Completely agree, Joe. I hold my breath on every return, but the skill set Golden has from an agility and explosive standpoint is paramount on punt returns. And he catches the punt. And that's the big thing that we've had issues with before is the whole fielding of punts. So it is what it is. So we've talked about offense. We've talked a little about a defense, but we'll go back to it a little bit more. We're not going to stay overly too long. We just want to do a quick breakdown of things. But defensive-wise, outside of Micah Parsons, everything looked pretty decent. Lucas Van Ness was getting in on the action. Rashawn Gary was getting in on the action. I do have stats pulled up here, so let me...
Rashawn Gary had, what, one and a half sacks?
Something like that. So I definitely won the over on that one, Kawano. Yeah, Gary had 1.5 sacks. Van Ness had half a sack. Wyatt had a sack. Parsons had a sack.
Another guy there, Devontae Wyatt. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
And for everybody's questioning of the run defense, and this includes me too, because I had questions about it, they really held up for the most part. I mean, outside of a play or two, they really held the run game down, and they were making plays. And I know Kawano said something on Twitter about this, that, Edge did miss a couple of plays early on, but it looked like he then settled down. So, once, and Quay looked decent. So we're going to have a hell of a tandem there going through the season as long as everybody stays healthy. I agree. Lucas earned and deserved a whole sack on his play, but you got
Rashawn Gary already has 20% of the amount of sacks he had last year. One game.
And the thing is what he did to get those stats is he was winning off the bull rush. It showed that he could use his strength, and something Quano and I have talked about for the longest time. He needs to stop worrying about the speed rush for the moment. Worry about your bull rush. Worry about your strength, because that's more your game than your speed is. Once these guys start learning that they can't block you bull rushing, they have to change their technique, then you can start doing more of your speed rush to throw things in there. But until they learn how to stop your strength, keep using it. Keep going. There should be no reason Rashawn Gary has less than 10 sacks a season. Same thing with Lucas Van Ness. Lucas has all the traits in the world, but he wins off his strength. Keep using your strength until they show that they can stop it.
Right. And like I said with Van Ness, I've said all off season long, I go, it's what, his third year? I go,
Yeah.
A guy 6'5", 272, he should be a freaking wrecking ball in there. And then you get, Gary opposite of him. You got Micah Parsons going. I mean, they're all going to make each other better. And the one thing I liked is to see how he moved Micah Parsons from edge to the nose tackle position, lining up over the center with a rookie. I mean, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy how much one person can come in and make a whole front defense that much better.
It is, and I think you're going to see...
The defense is good to begin with, but then you add Parsons, and that there's more eyes watching one guy versus several people. You know what I'm saying?
Right, and I think one thing that you're going to see is that continue on throughout the season, but it's not just going to be Micah. You're going to see Lucas inside a little bit more. You're going to see Rashawn inside a little bit more. Technically speaking, and I've said this, and Kawano said this, and I know some other people have said this, Lucas and Rashawn were defensive tackles in college. They weren't ends, they were tackles. Right. So their natural position is more on the inside than it is on the outside. So if you can start rotating those guys in and out, then my dream scenario, and I hope they pull this, maybe they'll do it against the Commanders when they're this Thursday. but Rashawn on one side, Lucas on the other, Micah in the middle. You know,
Or do a 3-4 defense.
No, not necessarily a 3-4, but a 4-3 where you have Rashawn on the left, Devontae next to him, Micah next to him, and then Lucas on the other end, or, flop Micah and Van Ness, or, they're all going to be interchangeable. That I think that you can fit that in there, and you're just going to have domination on passing downs.
Could you imagine if we had Joe Barry for a coordinator? He'd be
We've
pulling.
never ended up with Parsons.
He'd be pulling Keyshawn Nixon out of that game and putting Micah Parsons there.
Well, yeah. But here's the thing. We'd have never had Parsons to begin with because Barry would have come up with some excuse for not wanting him on the team.
Yeah, he's too fast, right?
Too fast, or he won't work my game plan. So, all right, we're getting to about the time that I said that we were going to cut it. So let's do this. Who's your MVP of the game?
Parsons.
Okay. I'm
he
going to
made
go
everybody better. That's simple.
I'm going to go a little bit different with it. And I'm going to give it more of a, just to be different than you. That way we're not both saying the same guy, even though Parsons would probably be that guy. I'm going to go with Jaden Reed just because off the injury, the stats that he was having, the catches he was making, even though he went for only 45 yards receiving, he still was, if he is battling that Jones fracture, if it is a true Jones fracture, and with what he was doing today, I got to give it to Jaden Reed.
I mean, I could just imagine Chris Collinsworth calling this game with Micah Parsons. He'd be nude from the waist down like he is with Patrick Mahomes.
Well, maybe not because Mike is on the Packers now, so
yeah, but still.
But any final thoughts from you, Brian?
No, I just think that they look great. I mean, they came out and they pretty much didn't give up except for maybe a little bit in the third quarter. But other than that, all three phases, they're not giving up the big returns on kickoffs or, they got good special teams. They got a trustworthy field goal kicker. They kept Jordan Love upright. Was able to get to the open receivers. Defense, they all swarmed to the ball. Played as a whole. And I think that crowd got Parsons pretty. Where's that quote that Parsons had here? He said, "He can't lie. It gives me chills. This was one of one on the intro in the noise at Lambeau." So I think he's gonna be huge. And I'm looking forward to Thursday.
For sure. And just so everybody knows, we're going to try doing this every Sunday. It probably won't be during the week unless Brian decides to do it on his own or find somebody who will do the post games with him because I work at those times. So unfortunately, I won't be on unless you guys go support us by buying more merch and all that stuff. You start buying our merch, you start supporting us monetarily. Maybe I can quit and start doing this full time, like a Grossi or an Andy Herman or something. But until that point, I won't be on it. Brian, I don't know what your plans are. We really haven't talked about it, whether you're going to do a post game after Thursday night games. But be sure to tune in on Sundays. We will be doing it on Sunday nights, probably about an hour after the ending of the game, depending on schedules and everything else. But do join us at those times. Be sure to follow us on all our socials. Ohana Packers Edition on Instagram, Facebook, Ohana Packers on Twitter. Brian is Cheeze Talk _pod on Twitter. You can find me more on Blue Sky than Twitter, but I have been showing up a little bit more on Twitter now just because of football season. And
he's stalking me, so
yeah, something like that. If that's what you want to call it, make yourself feel good about things. Follow us over there. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us wherever. Be sure to go over to our website, ohanapackers.org. Check out all the articles over there. Carlos has been pumping out a bunch of them. Kawano is trying to get back into the flow of things. Also, you can find past episodes of both podcasts over there, the Ohana Packers Edition podcast and the Cheese Talk pod. And most importantly, our merch is over there. I am working on things. I am working on cleaning up a lot of those things, making them look better, stuff that everybody would want to see. Be sure to go over, purchase something, help support the show. Tell people where you're hearing all the fun Packer talk. Be cool.
Yeah, I just thought of a slogan for a shirt.
Well, shoot it to me in a message or something, because we're going to end this thing. And people don't want to hear our business decisions. But thank you for joining us. Be sure to check us out. Mike and I will be dropping episodes twice a week. Brian is whenever Brian decides he's doing an episode. Check him out. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. And as Mike would say, aloha and go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.